Guantanamo Bay tortures became a public issue. Robert wrote this, and he still holds to it today. Australians support torture. We don't see this headline in any of our daily newspapers, yet I'm being tortured under legislation mandated and enforced by both state and federal Australian governments. Simulated drowning, stress positions, humiliations, and other indignities. The United States government has admitted to torturing its prisoners, while Australians sanctimoniously tut-tut, telling ourselves how much more civilised we are. The extent of our civilised behaviour is to only torture sufferers until we're within a few days of expiring, and then to palliate us to death. I have motor neurone disease, MND, a terminally fatal degeneration of nerves and muscle tissue, to which the medical profession has surrendered it to its paramount enemy, death. Nothing can be done to stop the inevitable advance of MND. The medical community is complicit with the policymakers of torture in not actively working to permit the resolution of our suffering by our voluntary death, and they continue to support our torture by washing their collective hands of us to let us suffer through the full disease cycle. The first torture is the indeterminate death sentence. I don't know how long I'm to be held in this Guantanamo, and can't be told. What I do know is that all my voluntary muscles will continue to degrade until I can't walk, talk, use my arms or hands, swallow, and finally unable to breathe, I will expire. The sentence is a humiliation of any measure of my humanity. The indeterminacy of the sentence is among the worst types of existential suffering. The infamous torture of this decade at Guantanamo Bay is waterboarding, where the prisoner is subjected to simulated drowning. At least once a day I am waterboarded, choked by a drink of water, or often on my own drool, so I can't breathe and I believe I'm about to die. The muscle degeneration of my tongue and throat leaves me unable to dependably get liquid down the correct hole. Another torture being perfected by the American government agencies in charge of these things is the stress position. Lying down is my stress position. If I lie prone or supine, I can't breathe, so I'm forced to lie on my side. Since my muscles are degenerating, I quickly get pains in my shoulders and hips, forcing me to roll onto the opposite side every 10 minutes. This leads to the next of the admitted methods of torture, sleep deprivation. Rolling around in pain keeps me awake most of the night. The prognosis for me is worse suffering until death. Relief and true palliative care should start with the reassurance that physician-assisted death would be available when I need it. I don't want to die today, but I do know there'll be a time when the continuation of these tortures will result in the rational decision to end my life before deteriorating into a fully paralyzed state, totally incapable of communicating, dressing, washing, toileting, or eating. I want to end my suffering with a bit of dignity remaining, and to retain some autonomy over my life by having sufficient control to end it when I'm ready. In the USA, where the torture policy has been widely discussed, the guilt for such egregious and abhorrent policy is laid at the feet of the highest levels of government, who condone, advance, and justify the barbaric policies of torture. At the same time, the foot soldiers, agency staff, and contractors are no less guilty. The excuse that I was only following orders was shown to be an invalid defence of the Nuremberg trials after World War II. The blame for Australia's torture of the terminally ill is fully equivalent. Only last September 2008, the Victorian State Parliament refused to permit medical practitioners to assist in ending a suffering patient's life. A decade before, the Northern Territory's Right of the Terminally Ill Act 1996, legalising voluntary euthanasia, was overturned in 1997 by the Commonwealth legislation. Those parliamentarians who voted with the majority obviously support the continuation of my torture. In this case, the torturing foot soldiers who are just following orders are Australian medical practitioners, most of whom even fear to discuss the issue. It's time that Australia rejects torture with a clear reversal of government policy just as the new US government recognised and rejected the torture policy of its previous government. Once the laws change, the medical community can cease to be afraid of letting the patient have autonomy in life and death decisions. Tasmania has the opportunity to be a bellwether in eliminating torture by providing humane and compassionate relief to us, the terminally ill. Give me a break. Release me and other innocent terminally ill from this Guantanamo-like torture chamber.